Good morning, everyone. Today on the Daily AI Show, come on into the big top to see Ringmaster Sundar and his Google traveling circus and medicine show. Step right up. Come on in. You will be amazed and amused. You'll see new state-of-the-art creative tools, smart agents for daily tasks, enhanced research capabilities, the most advanced AI models, agentic developer tools, and real-time translation for video, which fits into your new AI glasses with augmented reality displays while you leave the big top. So this is the topic for today, May 29th, 2025, and I'm joined by Beth Lyons and Junmi Hatcher. Google dropped a big drop. And their latest AI announcements, or I should say pronouncements, demonstrate a leading edge focus on applying advanced AI capabilities to a wide range of practical problems and creative endeavors. That emphasis on making tools accessible and integrated into their environments, empowering individuals and teams with enhanced efficiency, creativity, and access to information, has made a big splash. Okay, there's developments in video generation and intelligent agents and real-time translation standing out as particularly impactful, but it breaks out into these major sort of areas. One, a new Google Creative Stack, VO3, Imagen 4, Flow, and Lyria 2, smart shopping and smart agents, agentic checkout with Google Pay, AI try-on, Android XR glasses, which you can use in the real world out there, and Google Beam, which is a new video conferencing tool that is very interesting because it aims to make remote connection more immersive and natural. And that has the possibility of applying to e-commerce as well as to improving human appearance in video conferences for you and your agents and avatars. So there will be a new kind of display technology. The next big area is research. So research is now on steroids. Google Search AI mode, Gemini agent mode, Project Mariner, Astra, and Gemini Live. All of those things weave into that space. And then you've got their foundation models and the superiority of Gemini 2.5 Pro, which we'll show you in the LM Arena. But they also have Synth ID, which I don't fully understand, but that's invisible watermarking for AI generated media. And they also have a new kind of model called Gemini Text Diffusion, applying the diffusion technology of denoising images, applying that to text. So you can denoise and generate text in big blocks instead of a one token at a time. Okay, and then finally for AI creators and builders, you've got Stitch, Jules coding agent, and Gemini in Chrome. And then finally, that thing I mentioned about real-time AI translation, which is Google Meet, meets you with the ability to talk in real time to someone whose language you don't understand at all. All right, so that's the intro. I turn it over to my colleagues. What's your impression of what Google's dropped?
Go ahead, Junior.
like IO was a lot. Now, I will highlight a couple of things that drew my interest, and we've kind of mentioned them in previous shows and things like that. Anything on the creative side, so the Imagen 4 VO3 Flow combo essentially is what drew my attention immediately. But when you hear them all listed out, there is some interesting combinations of technologies and things that they're projects that they're working on, which kind of just add to the how large Google is and how many of these different spaces actually touch upon each other, like the AR or XR glasses. I think that's going to be, I think this is the point that Google might get it right. Because remember, they've been an innovator in glasses technology, or merging glasses and technology for a long time. Remember Google Glass, right? When it was just that little rectangle in front of your eye and things like that. So it's not something that they didn't, they just came out of nowhere with. They've been working in that space for a while. I think the XR stuff is going to be is on the path to show us really really great things and great examples. Particularly, this is where we're going to see the things that we love from the sci-fi start building out of. But for me, I wanted to get my hands on Flow in particular, right? They had marketed saying, hey, this is for filmmakers. Here is your workflow. This is a tool that filmmakers can start making these great videos. And once the embargo was lifted, you saw everybody on the internet releasing their VO3 videos, right? Talking about the whole trend with the they didn't know they were prompts, these characters, and questioning reality and all these kinds of things. And you can see that the overall quality of being able to generate these things has gone up. And then part of it was we actually get to hear the characters that they generated speak, right? Because that's a component of VO3 is you can have dialogue generated, you could have sound effects generated, you can even do music, right? So all those elements seem to be there. And they highlighted things like character consistency and going, instead of just text to video, they have image to video or frame to video. So there's a bunch of things here, and if we can take a second, I can show you the horrible process. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just open up a new project, so you can't see my my initial monstrosities. But yeah, let me share the video here, share my screen, so that you all can see it. All right. So let me add that. And all right. So essentially, when you create a new project in Flow, right, you've got your options here: text to video, frames to video, ingredients to video. So without going too much detail into this, text to video is what everyone is most familiar with. You write your prompt and it'll try to generate a video from it. Frames to video is you can draw from a particular frame in any video that you generated, and move on from there, or build off of that. And then ingredients to video is essentially if you already had materials, if you already had assets generated, or you wanted to generate new assets, you could, and then use that to then create character consistency and things like that. And that's the main thing. And then once you've gotten to that point, you can just build upon it, do extend. Anything you might be familiar with if you've used any of the video generating tools, such as Runway. Now, I did try it for a little bit last night when I got access to it. And it's exciting to see different features. Like, once you've generated your first scene, you can move into, you can help generate additional scenes and things like that by selecting your camera movement, which is that's a huge innovation in terms of this context of this video AI generated video, is because that's one of the things that you'd have to constantly describe, but you can now just template it. It's a click of a button. So that's great. Now, when speaking to it and generating the prompts, and this is the big caveat I have, the model doesn't seem to understand the nomenclature and the way, the natural language that filmmakers would be using to generate their videos, right? Or at least not in an easier way. So I actually spent most of my test time devising better prompts, making the model understand, right? Going through the model and saying,
Junmi, can you give us an example of a term of art, from video or filmmaking that it seemed to flub?
Sure. When it tried to interpret what I wanted to translate from the scene. Now, normally you would take your script; it has a certain format. Whether it's an interior shot, exterior shot, a description of the scene or the layout that you're seeing. Then it breaks it down to your if you had action, pointers in there. Direction, essentially, and then it would give you dialogue. Right? So there wasn't an easy translation for it to understand, hey, put it in this format. This is what this format is. Give me my script, because I had to, like, I went into just Gemini directly. I'm not doing this in Flow. That'll eat up your credits like crazy if you're trying to iterate. And that's going to be my second point. But I just went into Gemini to use 2.5 Pro Preview, and hey, this is the kind of stuff I want. I want to tease out. Basically, I had to tease out each of these elements and get it to understand to finally generate me a prompt to use. The first a couple of passes, Flow using VO3 didn't generate everything that I was looking for. So there's still a fair amount of hand holding when it comes to filling in the gaps or being very specific of every single shot that you want to do. So there's not a lot of room for interpretation. You have to be granular with it, and that's probably how other filmmakers have used this tool and other tools to get to the results that they want. So and the fact that they don't, that in general, most of these model makers do not put out an explicit guide to tell you need to format it this way. This is this trigger, use these exact, words and things like that. But, it's AI. Even when I was talking to Gemini about it, asking for tips. Oh, hey, well, how should I approach this? What's the mindset? And it says, well, just remember, this is not a exact thing, and you should just iterate as much as possible. Well, I'm sure you want me to do that, Gemini, because it spends credits. So speaking of the credits, and I'll wrap it up from here because I know I've eaten up way too much time on just this one thing. But each VO3 generation costs you 100 credits. Now, the team picked up the Ultra plan, which is the best plan that you can have. You get the first 3 months right now, 50% off. It's normally 250 US, but you do have a credit limit. Now, I didn't recognize that in any of the marketing or sales brochures when they talked about Ultra, but it's a good chunk for one person. Definitely not a good chunk for a group of people all using it. And you get 12,500 credits.
Yeah.
So
let me just welcome.
Duration is 100. You can burn through them fairly quickly.
Let me welcome Carl, who's joined us now. And Carl, we've been talking about the Google Creative Stack, and with a particular emphasis on VO3, which has really jumped to the top of the charts, if you will, on the quality of text to video and frame to video or image to video. And Junmi was also talking about the use of Flow, which is their storytelling studio that uses VO3 and Imagen 4 to allow you to craft a scene by scene visual narrative in that. But just to catch you up, Junmi was just saying that this is targeted to really professional users based on its cost structure. it's an expensive process, but it's probably at the closest we've seen yet to something that approaches the quality and capabilities that actual film generating studios would need in order to use AI as a primary vehicle for doing that rather than the digital film. Okay, so Carl, we're basically making the point that this unified ecosystem of tools that Google has now laid out for us in various areas, and this is the creative space, integrating that. I just want to mention one other, which is Lyria 2, the music generation tool that they have. And there have been a number of those that are pretty competent about generating a score, but that combined with Flow and Imagen and VO3, that makes it possible for people with no production background in music to develop a high quality soundtrack. And by the way, VO3 also generates dialogue and sound effects. So if you combine VO3 with Lyria 2, you've got the background music plus the dialogue, and you've got everything you need to do some pretty impressive video. But let's move on now to agents.
Because I just want to say that that is the vision, Andy. What you're saying is all of those things, and I think to Junmi's point, and it seems to be what other people are experiencing, and it is a little bit of like Google's ethos at this point when they release something with AI, is that there are just these little gaps that make the user experience less than frankly very frustrating, but definitely less than desirable. So what you just said is 100% the vision, and I suspect they're going to get there. But the feeling for me is, even if you cut it in half, $125 for the first 3 months, that's still a lot of money for me to function like a beta tester for you, where I am encountering little funky gaps and trying to figure out how to use your stuff. Because that's a little bit the experience. And Jimmy said that it's 100 credits. Like if you're going to do that with VO3 or Flow, which is the 100, it's just VO3, right?
Yeah, VO3.
So if you pay 125 a month and it's 100 credits, that's not very much use for that money, right? Like that's you're gonna burn that trying to figure it out.
That's an excellent point, and I think it's probably an indication that these aren't going to be immediately adopted by individuals attempting to challenge the abilities of people who have a studio around them to do it. But it's a tiny expense for a studio, right? Like if you're currently in film production and you want to do some quick compositions that to discuss, that paying $250 a month is like a drop in the bucket.
Sure, if they can get it to that point, absolutely. I think my viewpoint was to try to do it from the independent filmmaker or the little guy, and it's just like every other 200 or more that a level that they're talking about. Is this doesn't lower the barrier, right? You have to overcome that to have access to the newest models, to even try them. So your average person isn't going to be uplifted from, this is less the digital camera age transition between film and digital, and just more of this is the more expensive camera that you have to buy to even get to that point. And just one point that I want to highlight is I didn't like the idea of that there being credits when for a similarly priced product and an arguably similar level of product, Runway will do it for $100 for unlimited generations. So yeah, okay, I'll leave that there.
Interesting.
So We should also say that Jude in the comments is praising Flow's templates, also saying don't forget Whisk, which is another image product, I think, or a media product in this context. So there are a range of experiences. The thing that I noticed, and it's a post from Emmanuel Crown on X, is we're back to Google's funky kind of bias in their data. When you create VO3, when he created VO3 videos of a woman in a young woman in her 20s confidently walks confidently along a sunlit parkway, so that, and then she turns and she says a sentence, and I'll put the link in the chat, that has a white woman turning and saying the sentence. When the prompt is the exact same except it's a young Black woman, she walks, turns, says the beginning of the sentence, and then sings. So that's not like a horrible thing, but it is, again, like, Google, what are we, like, test your stuff. What is happening? And it's true with the test between like a man in a convertible and a Black man in a convertible. Like there's just some interesting stuff that I'm like, eh, like, just have a test, just like diversify your tests, maybe. I don't know.
Does this remind me, if you guys recall this as well, but didn't Google put out something that was creating, when you asked it to
Yes.
to do, the founding fathers, when it would do them almost all as people of color, because it had been trained somehow to attend to the sort of the both gender and diversity issues, and they corrected that very quickly. But it just reminds us that all of these models are subject to bias in their training data.
Right.
Yeah, and eventually those can be corrected.
And this isn't a negative thing per se, right? I mean, the people sing beautifully, and that is perhaps something that is relevant to highlight, but it's also highlighting like, oh, it's a Black person, so you think, right? What are the things we associate with a Black person?
Right.
So,
all right, let's move on from video to smart agents, both for shopping and for everything that you want to know about the web and all the actions that you want to take out there. So I wanted to highlight first agentic checkout. We've talked about this on the show recently, about the ability of new agents using the Visa and MasterCard protocols for how to use their payment systems, with agents being authorized to use your credit cards in effect. And Google has their own system that's integrated with Google Pay that allows agents built but with Gemini agents to make a transaction using Google Pay. So that's kind of a smart assistant to help you buy things online and can automate shopping tasks, including things like, okay, monitor the price of this thing, and when it drops below this level, buy it for me. So that's the kind of program tasks you can make your agent do, and it'll auto checkout with Google Pay. But let's move on to AI try-on. This seems like something that I guess has fascination for lots of folks out there. I've never used it. Any comments on AI try-on, which is, you can select something from a web page, I guess, and say, show me, if you've already given it images of yourself, show me wearing this item.
good morning to everybody, including our dogs. I have not uploaded my photo yet, because I needed because it works really best if you have like a photo with clean white background, that kind of stuff, so there's nothing else in the photo. But this should be obvious, but I was not expecting it. Of course, you can only try on things that are available through Google Shopping. So it automatically limits the kinds of things that I would normally, like the things that I would normally encounter or go to try something on. It makes perfect sense. Like, why would Google just let you try on everything in everybody else's store? There's no business model for them in that, perhaps. But I was like, oh, excellent. I don't want to try on any of these clothes. So I will continue to look and see. Um, did anybody else have experience with it? Carl, Jimmy? Not even a little
No,
bit.
no,
Okay.
it doesn't have any. I'm not incentivized to try it out.
Yeah,
And I
his closet is too deep already to to want to try anything else.
What are you talking about? Only keep the latest season, Andy. Everything else is, moved on. No,
Great.
just kidding.
I mean, it's
All
a
right,
cool
let's
it's a cool idea. Like, we should vibe code like thrift try on, right? Like, here you go, you're in the thrift store. This is the shirt. Now can like you give me a like the function as my mirror. What do I look like? I'm doing a selfie. What do I look like with that shirt on?
Yeah, cool. And so let's move on to Android XR, which is the new platform for mobile access to Google's AI capabilities, including augmented reality displays in the glasses. Now, these aren't available yet, and they probably won't be available for a while, but it's part of the vision that Google's laid out at I/O. And that what we mean by augmented reality is you can be wearing these glasses and walking down the street, and based on your sort of customization of your Gemini agents, you can have it, be notifying you within your view and not and overlaid over your vision through the glasses of the real world. You can have it providing information that's relevant to that, and that's a model of application of wearables with AI that has been popularized by many other glass manufacturers out there, product developers. But Android XR glasses are promising because of their full integration with all of the systems and functions that you have available in the Gemini ecosystem. So you can imagine, visual navigation, memory recall. For example, you're walking down the street and your agent could remind you that, oh, you earlier said you wanted to do this over here, and I see that you're in this location. You should, bring up that reminder. That's memory and task management that'll be part of the AI systems, but delivered through a whole new medium, which is built onto your head, let's say, rather than having you to navigate, through the world by holding up your camera and so on. Any comments about Android XR? We don't really know a whole ton about it yet, but it's going to be, I'm sure, a first-class product in competition with other AR and AI glasses.
Well, Andy, you are our de facto AI devices guy. So, do you have your order
I'm
in?
the guy. I'm the guy willing to throw down money and not get the tools that you think are coming. I think I bought the Halliday glasses, which have also an direct to your retina display that gives you that augmented reality capability, but limited compared to what Android XR is likely to be. Those Halliday glasses were originally promised for delivery in April. Now the latest update makes it seem like it's going to be many months more. They just currently sent out test units to this select small group of people. So they're only at the beginning of the production process and testing. And it could be that they find something out in their testing that says, oh no, we've got to step back another 6 months and refine this product. So to date, in terms of wearables with AI, Ray-Ban and Meta are that's the one that's got the largest sort of user base out there, and that doesn't include a display, right? It has a camera on it, so there's some context awareness of the AI, and Meta's there at your beck and call, and that's been by the commentary of people I know who have those glasses and wear them regularly. they find them very useful and a really great addition to their AI suite of tools. Carl, anything to talk about in respect of agents and or the device range?
Not really. Honestly, I'm just listening to really there's only one thing that is going through my mind with everything that's been announced today. I think you already talked about AI overviews, but other than that, that's kind of
No, we haven't. No, go ahead and speak to it. I used it today. I used AI overview, and I've started now to turn to Google for my queries a little bit more often than I did before because of the AI first kind of UI. But go ahead, talk to that.
No, it's more of, first of all, I can't use it in Canada, so I have to turn on my VPN. So kind of it won't matter. My search use is already not Google anyway, so I don't use it. But the one thing that I've been thinking about a lot, I don't know if you've seen the video from the Cloudflare CEO, where he was talking about, I think this is more a discussion on like large language models, search engine optimization, GEO, AEO, LLM, whatever EO that is happening. I think like it's worth having a listen. I can bring it up and maybe play like about a minute of it, because I think it is pretty
go ahead.
important. All right.
Fundamentally changed the business model of the web. The business model of the web for the last 15 years has been search. One way or another, search drives everything that happens online. And if you look back 10 years ago, if you did a search on Google, you got back a list of 10 blue links. And we have data on how Google processed those 10 blue links. And the answer was that for every 2 pages of a website that Google scraped, they would send you 1 visitor, right? So scrape 2 pages, get 1 visitor. And that was the trade. Over that period of time, over the 10 years, some things have changed at Google. One thing that hasn't changed is the crawl rate. They're still scraping at the exact same rate that they have over that period of time. But now it takes 6 pages scraped to get 1 visitor. What's changed? The answer is that today, 75% of the queries that get put into Google get answered without you leaving Google, get answered on that page. So if you want to ask, when did David Rubenstein start Carlisle? Well, it's about 10 years ago, it would take you to maybe a Wikipedia page or something else. Today, the answer comes up right on the page, and you don't have to go anywhere else. The consequence of that means that original content creators that are creating that content, if they were deriving value through selling subscriptions or putting up ads, or just the ego of knowing that someone is reading your stuff, that's gone, right? That is falling off a cliff, and that's the good news. So it was 2 to 1 10 years ago for Google. It's 6 to 1 today. What do you think it is for OpenAI? 250 to 1. What do you think it is for Anthropic? 6,000 to 1, right? And so the business model of the web can't survive unless there's some change.
Okay, so
Carl, clarify for me, just for my understanding, when he says 6 pages scraped by the crawler to get 1 click, right?
1 return, yeah.
Does that mean that they're having to scrape more pages in order to get the same sort of transactional traffic? But it's not like if I'm the advertiser on the other side of that equation and I want to get those clicks through to my website, the fact that there's this scraping increase going on in the background, does that reduce the effectiveness of my first, if I get on the very first page of search engine results or I get onto the page, does that really degrade my experience that there's a wider crawl doesn't seem to correlate in my mind with that. Help me understand the actual mechanics that he's talking about here when he says there's this massive increase in the number of pages scraped to get a click.
Well, there's a lot more pages. People create more content, so there's more
Right.
pages to scrape, right? But like he was talking about 10 years ago, I think if you remember Google 10 years ago, it was just a bunch of like organic links. It's mostly there, right? Now, because the answers are actually being shown on the results page rather than you having to go click out, then no matter how many pages you're scraping, the number of clicks out to your specific site, unless you pay for it, is significantly decreasing. More and more and more and more and more, right? So no matter how much content you create, it's harder and harder and harder, obviously, to get people to go back. Your traffic. Now, some marketers will argue, hey, our SEO works. I'm like, that's fine. But like when you talk about AI overviews, Google had no choice but to respond because the search was being disrupted by OpenAI. But like he said, it doesn't matter to me. Even if people search your stuff on OpenAI, Anthropic, wherever it is, what's the percentage they're going to click out to your site anyway, right? Now he's like, oh, with OpenAI, it's 250 to 1. With Anthropic, it's 6,000 to 1. And my theory is you have a lot of people talking about, oh, we got to do AEO, GEO, LLMEO. I'm like, yeah, you could do that, but you're not going to get the same amount of value as you've done in the golden age of Google when, the amount of traffic. But also, I think people are forgetting you've got deep research and you've got agents, Manus, GenSpark, Flowwith, a whole bunch. They do a better job searching for than I would, right? It's like I have an agent go out, like deep research. It doesn't matter if you rank top 10, top 20, it'll search 477, 500 websites, Grok, deep search, 500 sites, whatever it is, and come back to you with information. Sure, you've got the sources, but are you going to click those sources? No, it's provided you that information. And sure, you may be put in, this is the source, but I'm not paying attention to the source. I'm paying attention to the information provided. Then, so what happens now? LLMEO, AEO, it's like no one's clicking to your website. So I think that's what he was saying is like the business, everything that we've kind of built online for businesses over the past 15 years, that's the fundamental change, is that we've already seen it the past 5-6 years that Google has sent less traffic to websites. Now, again, some marketers would disagree. It's like, oh, it's growing. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I guess like transactional searches, even navigational searches, true. The thing is, though, what happens when my agent does this stuff for me? Bypasses, doesn't see your ads, doesn't see gated content, doesn't see display ads, just gets my information. So the more and more I do deep research, the more I want to research something, I have my agent or deep research do it. It's not pulling back to me any ads. It's just pulling back to me information that I want to see. And then the second part of that is what happens when I limit it. So it's like, I only want to buy a jacket from Arc'teryx, Patagonia, and this. So what happens to the smaller that are trying to get in front of you through some ads or whatever? That doesn't happen. So that ecosystem that we've built from search, that fundamentally changes. So are you going to now try to put ads in front of a agent? Are you going to now try to promote to that agent? Like, is that agent going to come back? What if I say no advertising? That agent will go out and do exactly what I say. So, which for me, I love, because I don't, like, from Google's perspective, like their search engine page or results page has been bloated. I can't figure out, like, it's all ads. So it's even if you rank now, like it's decreasing, right? But if more people using AI to search, hence it's an interesting thing. If they put AI overviews, they've already said they're going to put ads in the AI overviews. I'm like, okay, more likely I'm not even going to use it, because I'm hoping OpenAI doesn't put ads into the space. It's harder to put that, but like that's where everything is now.
Yeah. So let me just recap here that we're talking about the incredible import of the loss of the Google ad ecosystem, right? which was the major source of revenue for Google, and still is, but it's going away. And what does Google do to replace that revenue? And that's not clear to me, and it's not clear to investors, although it hasn't really cratered the valuation of Google in the marketplace. And its stock price is, not terribly below where its all-time high has been. So it's a big player out there, but the AdWords economic system, I should say, that's definitely being challenged. The AI mode is something you can select on Google's page. When you go to google.com, you can select AI mode, and that's going to change the approach that page presents. And today, when I select AI mode, I'm basically in a chat exchange with Gemini 2.5 Pro, right? And that's like competing directly with ChatGPT and others out there, including Anthropic. And I didn't see any advertising at all in that experience when I did AI mode. There's another thing, though, that Google's doing, which is anticipating the emergence of the agent in the role of your intermediary and the enabled actor for you in all kinds of transactions on the web. And remember that Google also has created the agent-to-agent protocol, which takes it one step further to allow an agent that you have to communicate effectively with company agents that are out there on the web awaiting, some transactional model of the future in AI, and also with other delegatory agents that they can assign subtasks to. So Gemini agent mode is something that they talked about at I/O, and that's going to go ahead, Beth.
Sorry, can I just go back to AI mode for just one second?
Yeah.
This is like a zeitgeist thing that's happening yesterday and today. And this for me is an indicative thing of the challenges with AI mode. So what you're seeing on my screen is my saying, is it 2025? And Google saying it is not 2025, right? That's the AI mode answer. Now, if I just searched Google, right? If I didn't use AI mode, Google knows it's 2025 because the websites know that it's 2025. There's something funky in the way that this answer is being pulled. And it actually says the current year is 2024. Other people have done it and it says, no, it's not 2025, it's 2025, right? And so this, I think, is just one of those places where I feel like there's just a ton more education that people need about the difference between an AI answer and a Google answer. And when you're getting it through the same interface, I searched Google, I think that just ends up even more confusing. And that's one of the things that I find challenging about what Google is trying to do in like steering their Titanic in a slightly different direction. I feel like they're trying to be all things, and they have a real, like, their users, the majority of the people who use Google, who still use Google for those things, are low AI information people. And that is one of the reasons that I think it's great that we're doing the show. I feel more of a responsibility to like wave the banner of like, hey, that's an AI answer. Let's actually talk about what an AI answer is, right? Where that came from. But
Good.
that's just
Thanks for that point. Let's move on to Project Mariner and Astra plus Gemini Live, which are part of this sort of AI powered approach. Project Mariner is a teach and repeat AI agent that can automate processes daily your way. Like if you're working in your sort of, especially in your Google environment with Gemini, then the Project Mariner tools will allow you to show it what you want it to do and basically schedule that to happen on, either triggered by events in your compute environment or, on a daily calendar basis through its integration with Google Gmail, or, if you get an email from this is what I want you to do in response to that. That's Project Mariner. That offers, task automation for, personal assistance, in your compute environment. And then Astra plus Gemini Live is this use of the camera on the mobile device. They hope it's an Android phone, but it'll also work on iOS. And that's recognizing real world objects while you're walking around. This is sooner than the glasses that are the Android XR are going to make that possible. Now you can just use your device camera to get assistance from that Astra thing, which is really compelling, and as yet still a kind of behind the curtains, demo system. We don't know when it'll actually be made available. Contextual assistance in your physical environment is going to be a big part of AI, and say they're going to be delivered through your handheld device, or if you choose to have wearables and have your glasses on with cameras and displays, that's going to be the other way that you get real world context and advice from an active agent that's connected to the intelligent system. All right, I want to just quickly share my screen and show you the power of Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's get this window up here. And this is the LM Arena leaderboard. And let's just take a quick look at this. Here I have it laid out with text, responses in the LM Arena, and then also coding development related, responses in the LM Arena. And you can see that Gemini 2.5 Pro is either 1 or 2 in those areas. Claude Opus 4 is at the top of the leaderboard with a very substantial lead over others in the web development space. And Claude Sonnet 4 is a little bit behind that. A little bit. It's like half of Gemini 2.5 Pro's number of votes, but these are small variations here between 1409 and 1416 for Claude Opus. But you see 2.5 Pro's being used. Well, it's been out, for most of the month, whereas, this has only been out for less, like a week or so. So you haven't seen as much use of Claude Opus 4, but it's being preferred over Gemini 2.5 Pro in development. But over here in text, you see GPT 4.0 actually exceeds 4.5 preview, which I had the understanding that 4.5 preview was a better conversational, text agent or model than was 4.0. And then 03 is better yet than that. But again, 2.5 Pro preview from early May, that's the one. I think it's interesting to see that Gemini 2.5 Pro is at the top of the leaderboards for vision interpretation and also in search, grounded search, basically with web search being added to the thing. And notice here that Perplexity's sonar models are, really, really strong and topping the leaderboard other than for Gemini 2.5 with web search enabled. And, you got to go way down to considerably below to see any of the Chat GPT models. Right. So that's where the Gemini 2.5 Pro model is. I've been using it, by the way, as a coding assistant to guide Lovable, which is a more integrated development environment that actually deploys the resulting code. But it's using Claude 4 now. Even Claude 4 Sonnet is not as good as 2.5 Pro, and 2.5 Pro has a very different and more encompassing capability for a coder because of its 1 million token context window. It has a grasp of much more of your conversation and your code than the other options, particularly from Anthropic, Better Coder doesn't have as wide a field of view of what you're doing. And as a result, it's much easier for me to manage with 2 tabs, working in 2.5 Pro in AI Studio, and giving it responses from Claude, asking it to provide advice about that. It maintains the context and full understanding of the code and gives more explicit direction than I could provide as quickly, to Claude 4 in that development environment. Okay, who wants to jump in on something next? We have a whole area of coding tools like Jules. Carl, have you played with Jules, or do you have anything to comment about Jules?
No, because the only thing I've been using is I've been using Codex. Like, it's hard for me to switch because I've been using Claude with Code and Codex. Once I kind of gone into those two, I just don't have time. I really don't have time to get into Jules. And
just so everybody knows, Codex is the newly released ChatGPT or OpenAI coding platform, and they made a live announcement of that just 10 days ago or so, right? So
yeah.
You've been working in Codex, and describe, if you would, how you access Codex as distinct from Claude from Code, just for because you're doing this on a daily basis. You're using multiple models. I'm kind of trapped in my Lovable and Gemini relationship, and I'm loyal.
I think both of them is more so. Claude with Code, similar to Codex, you leverage Claude directly in your terminal, so you don't need Visual Code Studio. You don't go to Windsurf. You don't go to Cursor. You go directly, like, it hooks into your terminal and you build it right there. Think of it, if you want to simplify it, think of it as you got Cursor in your terminal and you execute whatever. Like, it's more for me, it's more for just playing around with the projects that I'm testing. So for example, there's one client we have, they have people in the field who have to do reports, but the people in the field English is their second language. So Arabic and Spanish are their 2 main languages. So problem is when they have this, so every day they have to log, like, there's a foreman, or I forgot, the person below the foreman has to log what happened to the day, right? But because they can't speak English as their second language, when you look at the logs, sometimes it's like 6 words and like, this is not a complete sentence. And then, but the problem with that is in accounting, or if their client disputes, let's say, hey, how come it's a construction company, so how come you didn't finish this job in this amount of time, which we paid for, and how come you're billing us more? And then it's like, oh, well, one of the equipment you provided for us broke. But when you look at the log, you're like, equipment go move down or something like that. And you're like, this means nothing, right? So you can't verify through the logs. So essentially you'll have to go talk to the people. That takes forever. By the time this is resolved, your accounting's like, I got to pay this. So they've already paid the extra fee. So the company's like, we just lost money because the log was in, like, it's not consistent. And there's a lot of that, right? So that's the big thing. And no one really knows what's happening in the field unless somebody calls. So anyway, that is a problem. So we found an application you can do that, but I wanted to build, because down the road they wanted additional features to that. So I was building that through Claude with Code, using Codex, just trying different methods to see how good each and every one of them are. So for these kind of things, it is not to actually do client, like, we're going to do this for a client, we're going to vibe code this. I'm just prepping myself with these tools to when specific client work comes in, that when these tools are actually good enough, and I would say they're not good enough, then it makes it so much easier. Then I just tell a couple of my operators and be like, hey, check this out, go run it, let's build it. Like, I'm hoping maybe in 6 to 12 months, it's like, yeah, we can now build stuff even faster than relying on traditional development.
And I think you're saying we can ultimately be able to build production ready code.
Yes.
But
Yes.
right today, and I'm having this experience in the application that I'm building, is it's just too fragile yet to actually dedicate to a production environment.
Yeah.
And the coding agents aren't good enough yet, but just wait a month.
Yeah.
The coding agents aren't yet ready to say, okay, now I'm going to exhaustively refactor this code base to make it production ready.
Correct. And then, when even if you look at Lovable, even if you look at some of this stuff, it's like, why did you do it that way? Or your product resource document has to lay out exactly. It's like, hey, I want this feature built first, this feature built first, acknowledge the customer journey. There's too many things that you need to do to prep to ensure your whatever you're using follows a correct path. So like the promise is, oh, I want you to build an app that does this. It will build that app, but no sane developer will be looking at why'd you build it this way? Like I can't update this. I can't do anything. So how do you get from that point? So everything right now is all about, hey, make sure you're structured, make sure you're prepared. But it's like most people won't do that. Like you can, but like people will like, what's a PRD? Why do I have to build a customer journey? Why do I have to say front end? Why do I have to authentication? Why do I have to understand back end? Why do I have there's too many things that people have to understand to actually get something.
But this is one of the promises of Jules, right? Jules is being promoted as a Gemini 2.5 Pro powered development assistant that can understand your full repo, your code repository. It can analyze it and fix bugs in there. It'll write new functions and help deploy. Now they say help deploy because they haven't integrated it completely, so it's one-click deployment, as you can see in some of the other vibe coding environments. But you're in the Google ecosystem, so you've got all of the resources of the cloud, the Google Cloud system, to actually accomplish deployment.
But you've already lost people, right? So you're like, oh, I've got to go to my Git repo. I've got to do you have to have a Git repo. Then you have to have all these things.
Right.
So Jules, right, is not. It's still for Codex, Claude with Code, Jules still for developers. It just makes makes life a little easier, right? It makes that. But that's the thing is okay, how do we? Is it going to ever move from that environment? And really, if you really are believing in vibe coding, how can you connect it to everyday people, right? And how do you get them to actually be able to use this without needing all that stuff?
If you solve for that, that's going to be a
That's
$1 billion idea.
Yes, that is the $1 billion idea, right?
Also,
yeah.
Let's just promo our thing tomorrow as we're talking about this, y'all. We have a new series coming up, DOS Vibe Coding Live. So if you're interested in hearing us debate this more, we're going to be coding DOS's website. And we start tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time. And it'll be on the DOS. It'll be on the DOS channel. We also have our regular show, a 2-week recap at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, and we're on for Sci-Fi AI show over on the Sci-Fi AI channel at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. There is so much happening, but join us for the DOS live coding.
Yes, indeed. And also check out our website, thedailyAIshow.com, and join our community, thedailyAIshowcommunity.com. And there you can join our Slack environment where you can talk to other watchers of the show and to us if you'd like. And I invite you to do that. Come back and see us tomorrow. We're going to wrap it now. We're at the top of the hour in just a few seconds. So thanks very much. We've been talking today about Google and the amazing suite of tools that they've collectively dropped on us, on our heads. And we're trying to unbury ourselves from the accumulation of new features and functions that they're providing to us. All right. That's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Aloha.